this time, I would like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Clerk of the board, will you call roll, please?
Solis?
Present.
Segura?
Present.
Pike?
Here.
Hall?
Present.
Tarantino?
Here.
Janney?
Here.
Irizarry?
Here.
We will now hold a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Irizarry, will you lead us in the pledge after the moment of silence? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The board met in closed meeting to discuss the following issues. 1. Student expulsions. Reinstatements. Education Code Section 48916 through 48. D number. Public Employee Evaluation Appointment Transfer Government Code Section 54957. Number 3, Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release, Reclassification, Reassignment, Resignation, Transfer. Government Code Section 54957. Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation, Paragraph 1 of Subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Litigation, Paragraph 2 of Subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. Conference with Labor Negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. The board took the following action. Moved by Tarantino, seconded by Solis, to accept the Administrative Hearings Panel's recommendation to approve the expulsion of one student with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura absent, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Solis, seconded by Pike, to accept the Administrative Hearing Panel's recommendation to approve the expulsion of one student with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura absent, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Tarantino, seconded by Solis, to approve the transfer of West Braddock as Principal Adult School to San Ysidro Adult and Montgomery Adult Schools with the vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura absent, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Tarantino, seconded by Solis, to approve the transfer of Kevin McClelland as Principal Adult School to National City Adult and Chula Vista Adult Schools with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura absent, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Tarantino, seconded by Solis, to approve the transfer of Cheryl Sanchez to Principal Adult Schools on special assignment with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura absent, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Solis, seconded by Pike, to approve the request for the leave of absence for one certificated employee with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura absent, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the May 29th, 2018 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Solis, second by Mr. Pike. Would you please call for the vote?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Now we'll have a presentation from the Castle Park High School Architecture, Construction, and Engineering students. We are pleased to welcome Castle Park High School teacher Cesar Gamez, who has a presentation for the board. Mr. Gamez?
Thank you, everybody that's here. Thank you for having us. I'd like to introduce the mentors from ACE mentors from Turner and Head, Ms. Howe, Mr. Howe, and Mr. Evan. Come on up, please.
Good evening. It's such an honor to be here with you. Turner Construction has been around since 1902, and by 1969 they felt we need to pay attention to the youth. We need to talk to them about this career of engineering, construction, and architecture. And who better to do it than the people that work in the profession? So in 2006, Turner came to Castle Park High. The children were actually, I should not say children, I apologize. The students were asking Turner, you're modernizing our school at Castle Park. Can you tell us what you're doing? So it seemed like a natural fit to bring ACE to Castle Park. ACE is located in 12 schools in San Diego County, but clearly I'm very biased and I think Castle Park is the best. What you're looking at in front of you is the
School.
Could you tell us your name, please?
My name is Robert Miner. I'm a senior here at Castle Park.
Thank you.
Our purpose is to inspire the students to pursue careers in design and construction. We have ACE at our school because of the wonderful mentors who decided to put their own time and effort into the students here at Castle Park. And without them, none of this would be possible. So how we use ACE to prepare our students? We prepare our students by exposing them to real-world opportunities, by showing them just how actual mentors do their daily professions, by using SketchUp, 3D models and 4D design, plans, blueprints, building layouts, hand sketches, integrating technology, and also smart growth. Smart growth is an approach to develop that encouragement of a mix of buildings and uses, diverse housing and transportation options, developed within the existing neighborhoods and community engagement. So, what we do within ACE. We develop 3 groups and assign tasks accordingly. Each group specializes in either exterior design, architecture design, and interior design. Once everything is put together, we have a presentation. So, here we go. Put that away. So what we have for you today is our Trojan Community Center put together by me and everybody behind me.
You want to introduce them? Can you introduce them, please?
My name is Robert Miner. This is Jesus Gonzalez. This is Kenya Solis. This is Josue. And this is Aldo. And this is Samuel. So, first off, why we built the Trojan Community Center. We'll begin in the beginning of the year. We always have a debate to figure out to put where and why we put our convention site. So we had a debate. We had CPH, Student Shopping Center, Hilltop Park, Loma Verde, another fire station what we did last year, and then another family station. So landslide, our Castle Park High School won in default. So we did a chalk walk around the school, see what needs improvement, and we saw that we needed some somewhat of a children's community center. So, and then the reason why we decided to put this children's community center is because at Castle Park we have a history of award-winning athletics, and we decided to design this facility so we can better our students in pursuing their dreams within sports. Also, I'd like to talk about why it's a community asset. It is centered in a residential neighborhood, convenient to other educational facilities. It's near downtown Chula Vista, and the facility is unique to the community. Now I'm going to pass it on to my friend, Jesus.
Good evening. As you can see, this is a campus site plan, which is at Castle Park High School. We have 5.5 acres of land located in the southwest corner of the school, and it's vacant grass area. We don't really utilize it for anything. We have other PE areas that could be used. It has convenient community access and existing parking lot, and is adjacent to existing athletic facilities. The site plan, the drawing, as you can see, was drawn by our friend Robert Miner. It shows the essential features such as bicycle storage, side lining, teaching gardens, rooftop lounges, outdoor seatings, grass pavers for fire truck access, ADA ramps, and shrubs and shade trees to beautify the outside of the school, or the building. The architecture of the building was created and designed using the SketchUp 3D modeling. we decided to make it a two-story building with a total square footage of 36,350, consisting of a natural fitness facility and a student center. The roof would be angled to support solar energy collection, and the front of the building would be secure to the community, yet open to the campus on the back. The north wing will be enclosed with a semi-transparent panel to bring light into the pool area. So the top three pictures, the middle one is our existing student union, and the right sketch was drawn by Adrian Shivers, who's not here right now, but he's been drawing our sketches like for 2 years already, and he was basing it off existing buildings in our school. So we kind of just start from the sketches and then we start building it. And on the bottom two, the one on the left is the front part of the building, which is more like enclosed, because I mean we're talking about safety here, and it's part of school property, and we would like to have more secure face when it's open to the public. But the back part that's facing towards the school will be more open. Interior spaces. Kenya.
Hi everyone, my name is Kenya Solis. I'm a senior at Castle Park High, and this year I was part of the interiors group. So as part of the interiors group, both Adrian and I were tasked with designating where each space would be located within the building, as well as the common items you would find. So it may not come to mind, but we also had to build the walls, and if you can see to your right, we have the first level floor plan. So to the right of the floor plan, we have the weight room, fitness room, and wrestling room. We decided to incorporate these rooms so that students would have access to fitness areas where otherwise they wouldn't have on campus. And then in the center of the building, we have girls' locker rooms, boys' locker rooms, lobbies, training rooms, as well as a student lounge. The purpose of this building wasn't just to create an athletic facility, but it was also to facilitate the needs of the students academically. So it would provide a space for tutoring as well as a space to hang out. So now we have the second floor. On the second floor, we have space events. On the first floor, we have the auditorium as well. And then for the right side of the second floor plan, we have the roof deck. So the inspiration for the roof deck was to have a safe space for teenagers to hang out. And then this building wasn't only created for teenagers, so we also have, it's a space that welcomes families and community members. So due to the recent amount of events that have been happening this year, we were inspired to incorporate several safety features. And some of these safety features included bulletproof glass, as well as a secure lobby check-in. So if you take a look on the right, we have an image where the red arrow is pointing. That would include the secure lobby check-in. So we have this facility that is on campus, and we want to make sure that everyone who uses it is safe, but most importantly, the students that are already on campus. So we created a challenging circulation path, meaning that people who want to use the facility would have to go through the front of it before being able to access campus. And then once being inside the facility, everything else would be secure. We also incorporated other features such as a hardline connection to the main office, as well as periodic drills. And now Josue will be talking to you guys about the construction schedule.
Hi, my name is Josue Ramirez, and I'm a junior at Castle Park High School. Our construction schedule consists of a 22-month period. It goes from July of 2019 to August of 2021. We decided to commence our schedule with earthwork and demolition because we don't want our students to be near hazardous objects, nor we don't want to disrupt our athletes with their noisy heavy-duty drills. Furthermore, we also did this in summer because we wanted to have it ready before the rainy season, which means less work, less time. As you can see, our exterior show would be completed in a period of 16 months, which after would give time for the interior workers to integrate the ceilings, the cabinets, the windows, etc. And landscaping wasn't such a priority. Our priority was to make this building as secure and as strong as possible, so that's why we spent most of our time in our site concrete and our site steel. Last but not least, our budget was approximately $30 million. I'll pass it to my colleague, Aldo.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Aldo, senior at Castle Park, first year on ACE. So first of all, solar panel energy harvesting. As you can see on this, well, it doesn't see, but on the sorry, at the right side of the building, there's an array of solar panels pointing to the south towards the sun, so we can get sunlight. See, natural. Second point, natural north daylight. As the sun is pointing to the south, the north is getting natural sunlight, and most of the building is made of windows, huge windows. It's not only concrete, so the building can get natural lighting, more efficient. This shade is south daylight. As you can see where the solar panels, between both solar panels on the right, there's a gap where there's a window, and the sun hits it, and it'll make the building get hotter. So to stop that from making the building hotter, we made the solar panels to cover that part, so we can create a shaded south daylight. At the passive ventilation, so to not make the building so hot, but the hot air. As you can see, the yellow arrows are the sun coming to the building. We installed an operable window so the hot air could escape the building. We also have LED lighting, which is one of the most energy efficient and rapidly developing lighting technologies. Also the low flow toilets and sinks. So basically that's utilize less water. By making all this, we wanted to make our building net zero, which means using as little energy and using most as possible most reusable materials and natural light. Thank you. So to end this presentation, Samuel.
Hello, my name is Samuel Trapsey of the Construction and Management Group, and I'm currently in the freshman year. I'd like to pose a question to all of you today. What can this building offer to the students of CPH? Well, to start off, I'd like to say that this building will allow students to have a safe place to stay from the hustle and bustle of everyday student life. Secondly, it also lowers the stress on the already overtasked and stressed library, student union, and sports facilities that are on site. It's also a new location for students to explore, allowing CPH to leave a lasting memory on the students who attend it. Following smart growth regulations, we wanted to make our building a community asset. So, to begin with, we will be hosting swimming lessons and even training sessions for aerobics, yoga, and anything that is sports related. It'll also be a business jumpstart center because we have a makerspace within our building. Following that, we also have high hopes that our building will be a great place for the community to stay at, and I'll allow them to have a gathering ground to host events that they might want to enjoy. During the course of the school year, through school funding, we were able to take many school trips and excursions onto the field of building. On November 15th, 2017, we visited a condo construction site and saw many different levels of completion within the building itself. From the bare bones steel and skeleton structure to the furnished and finished rooms, we were able to take a look within the building's very confusing ventilation system. We also were able to look at their on-site offices and were able to take a glance at their blueprints and schedules. We also got important information from the architects and engineers that were on their site. On March 14th, 2018, we visited the HED Design and School Construction site. At HED, we were able to get valuable insight on what our presentation and building lacked. We also visited further in the day a school construction site and was able to draw inspiration for our own building. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and do you have any comments, questions, or any inquiries?
Thank you. We really appreciate it, and I'll let my board have comments, time to comment. Mr. Segura?
Thank you. That was a great presentation. That was a really good job with your team. And Are you a freshman in high school or in college? I'm confused.
Freshman in high school.
Because you did really, really well with that presentation. I'm super impressed. And I think we should build that on that school site that you have over there, right? I think that would fit perfectly there. I'm just very impressed with that. I remember when I was studying architecture in high school, it was a lot different than this. We actually just did it with paper and pen and pencil. Imagine that. But this is really, really cool, and I'm so glad that you're able to put this presentation together and actually go to job sites and see the construction in the many phases that it takes to build those buildings. And just super impressed with the job that your team did. And thank you to the Turner people and the architects for mentoring. That is huge. That's what we all need to do. And I read something recently where it said, can you imagine if all businesses checked in with like a school, adopted a school, and whatever the business would, and communicated with the kids or the students monthly on what, to have some meaning to what they're doing, and just let them know what's happening in the world. I just really appreciate that time and that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. With no further comments.
Wait.
No further?
We're not
Okay.
done. There might be other questions for people. So, Mr. Solis?
I too was very impressed. Good job, well done. So I was just going to ask Dr. Aguilar to make sure you get their information. And, I'm sure you guys will be hiring soon. So yeah, that was wonderfully done, and just it's impressive how you guys broke it down to when you would build something, or because of the rain, or because it's raining you don't want to build something. That was just amazing, because sometimes we don't think about that stuff. It's like you put it all into your plans, and wonderful job. Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Irizarry?
I just kind of want to mirror what Mr. Solis, Mr. Segura have said. This was a really phenomenal and very impressive and well put together presentation, and I really loved the attention to detail, especially how you included the actual construction schedules and stuff like that. It shows that this was just really, very phenomenally done. I guess the one question I do have was, are there beds in the student lounge? Because I don't know about you, but I could take a nap once in a while.
Well, we might now with your advice.
Thank you. Phenomenal job.
Mr. Tarantino?
Again, very, very well done. So, since the real building may not be a reality right now, is the next step maybe a model? Is that what the next step is, or what is your next step? Now that you have the plans, you have the architecture, you have the concept, what's the next step?
I'd like to bring it over to Miss Mira.
Good answer. Oh.
I plan. We'll start tomorrow if you just give us the approval. Actually, the ACE program runs from September to May, and in May the program ends with the students presenting at San Diego State. Last year we presented to Mayor Salas. That was wonderful, and to be here is now a new level for us. But basically, we hope that the program ends on ears that will keep us in mind. The firemen last year, the Chula Vista firemen, were in the council chambers with us, and they asked us to keep the new fire building on hand because they liked all the features and the beds and things that it offered. So the plans and all that stay with us, and if we are able to pass them on by request, we would certainly do so.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to commend all of you young people for putting the time in and your dedication to doing this, and for obviously it meant something to you because you came up with an idea and a project that really is pretty spectacular. I agree with Mr. Segura and others that it would be nice to see something like this as a community resource in that area and on Castle Park High School. So I think those ideas are great, and you've done a lot of you've thought not only about today, the time that people would spend there today, but also for the future, in that you've tried to make it very eco-friendly, which is excellent and very much appreciated. And I want to thank Mr. Gamez for his time and run it as the teacher of this program. I know he's done a lot for the construction technology classes there at Castle Park High, and there's a lot of different facets to that whole program which really can benefit the community and future students. So thank you. And I also want to commend it. I believe 2 of the people that were presenting last Saturday won scholarships. Is that correct?
I'd like to elaborate on that.
All right,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Demas?
Thank you, board and superintendent and everybody else that's here. I really appreciate our students going up and presenting. So thank you for having us here. So on May 19th, several of our students won scholarships through the ACE program. I have Jesus Gonzalez got $2,000. Okay. Aldo Chavira got $1,000 scholarship. Adrian Shivers last year, he's not here, but he's part of the group, got $1,000. Last year, again, Kenya Solis got $1,500 scholarship last year. Okay. Also, I am proud to say that Kenya Solis has been offered a paid internship with Turner Construction. Okay. Really happy for her. I'd like to go ahead and do a little shout out for Mr. Robert Miner, who has been accepted, and he's going to be an electrician. He's going to go to the apprenticeship program at IBEW, the Electrical Training Center. Mr. Robert Miner. Andres Leon, he's not here, but he's going to enter the carpenter's apprenticeship program. Jesus Gonzalez was offered full-time employment by doing an internship at Countywide Mechanical. He has been offered a paid apprenticeship program also through PHCC. They wanted him to work with plumbing and engineering department. That's Jesus. But Jesus is going to San Francisco State University. He's been accepted there for anthropology. Okay. Eduardo Geraldo, another student, was offered full-time employment at Countywide, and they offered to pay his apprenticeship program and with PHCC, and he will attend UTI. He chose another path, but the offers were there. So the students are being successful. I'm very proud of the students that are here. I coordinate the program, but it's all the work from our ACE mentors. I cannot take credit for them. They are the professionals. Steve, Vera, Evan Henderson from HEAD. We couldn't do this without you guys. The kids, their future is in your hands. So thank you. Also, this team of students here has been invited again by the city of Chula Vista. They're going to present on June 12th this presentation for the mayor and the council members. And again, I want to thank my students, Robert, Sam, Aldo, Josue, Kenya, Jesus, and Adrian, who's not here. Thank you also, Mr. Grove, who's representing Castle Park High School, and Vicky's been very supportive. But we have these kids from here, they're rushing, they have senior awards right now. So we're taking them over there. And I thank you all. Also want to just quickly say thank you, Dr. Aguirre, for our air conditioning. Our students appreciate it. Thank you, right, guys? Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. I just also, so I
Take
think
a look at
can we
the
get them up to the front for a group picture along with the mentors, please? And yeah, with your drawings, we can put them on the, however they want to stage that. All right?
Actually, would you guys grab a couple of you grab these?
Castle Park?
Okay, well, I don't see how we can top that, so I guess we can all go home now. Oh, okay, wait, we have some business. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful testimony to the really spectacular things that are going on in all our schools, especially when students take it and run with it. They're doing good things. So now we will have an update from our superintendent, Dr. Karen Janney.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, one and all, to our board meeting. We actually are really glad that you're here. We invite all stakeholders to participate in our work, and we're especially glad that you're for attending tonight. So, I have a question. Are there any military personnel in the audience? How about any military veterans? Would you please stand? Okay. So as of yesterday, yesterday was Memorial Day, and so we want to acknowledge and thank you for your service to our country. So at our last board meeting, I shared some of our students' accomplishments, specifically scholarships awarded. I mean, you heard about just these students here tonight and the scholarships they received from San Diego State. Well, I want to share a few more, right? I want to share, since then, staff across the district, since I sent out the last update, other staff members shared with me other students' accomplishments, and I want to share a few of that information tonight. So Jose Hernandez from Montgomery High School was awarded a Gates Scholarship. So those of you who are familiar with the Gates Scholarship, this award covers all of his college expenses for 5 years. Through 5 years. So that means he can go on and get his master's or whatever. He will be attending USC to study environmental engineering, and we can't wait to hear what his future will bring. So that's one student. Sioux High's Adriel Lagda won a full-ride Kyle Morgan Scholarship to the University of Colorado at Boulder. Jose's scholarship is from Montgomery is about $375,000. Adriel's scholarship to the University of Boulder is worth approximately $230,000, right? 4 years of college. Another one of our seniors at Olympian High School, senior Aldrich Ramos, posted a perfect score on the ACT recently. That's pretty awesome, right? Mario Palacios, also, from Otay Ranch High School, won the Founders $4,000 Mariachi Scholarship that was given out last week. And Emma Padilla Zavala from Sioux High also won the Christine Aranda $2,000 Mariachi Scholarship last week. And then last but not least, our student board representative from last year, you all remember Xavier Serena. He's going to be attending Berkeley next year, and he's going to study a double major. You know Xavier, it's a double major, electrical and mechanical engineering, and a minor in education. Because remember, he's going to be the superintendent here one day, right? All right. So that's just a few other of the large kinds of scholarships that our students across the district have earned and won. And in speaking of graduation data, next week all of our high schools will host commencement ceremonies where approximately 8,000 students will walk across the stage to receive their high school diploma. We really are so proud of each student's success, and we really wish them the very best in their future as they pursue, as our mission says, personal and academic success and goals. So we also ask that all of our graduates come back to the district and let us know all of the wonderful accomplishments they will be attaining as they enter the world of college and work. So that's just a few things about students. But our students not only excel academically, they excel athletically. So I want to share what's happened during spring sports this season. So Montgomery High School the boys volleyball won Division II champions and Division III Southern California regional champs. So that means they won San Diego section, they went to all of Southern California. I think that's as far as they can go. So basically they're the state champs for Division III. Olympian High School girls softball won Division II champions last week for CIF. And you've probably heard about this young man from Eastlake High School, Jalen Jackson. He won CIF in 2 events, the triple long jump, and the long jump. And he didn't just win by a couple of inches. If you saw his results, 3 feet ahead of the second place in the long jump, I believe it is, and about almost 2 feet ahead of the second place in the triple long jump. So he's going to be, he said that's not enough for him. He wants to, that was his personal best, but he wants to go even farther for the state championships. Olympian High School, Adays Noble won the CIF championship in the girls 400 meter dash. The 4x4 meter relay Olympian girls won the CIF championship. And Olympian Columbia Page won CIF championship in girls 200 meter dash. So they took the 400, the 200, and the 4x100 meter for the girls at Olympian at track and field championships this past weekend. East Lake High girls softball won Division I runner-up. They didn't quite make it, but it was close. It was close. And Bonita Vista High's Julissa Arzave won the girls 500-yard freestyle swimming CIF championship. So that's cool. She went on to the state. I think she took 5th place in the state. So that's, yeah, congratulations. So here's just a couple of staff accomplishments most recently. Sergio Appel, one of our school psychologists, won the San Diego County Association of School Psychologists Ross Zatlin Award. And that's a San Diego County organization, but the Ross Zatlin Award is was developed and created for one of our school psychologists in the district. And so they named this award after him, and one of our psychologists got it this year, so that was really great. Dr. Elvia Estrella, she's a counselor at the San Ysidro Learning Center, and she won the Sweetwater SCGA WHO Award this recently. And then just today, we were at the CIF Appreciation Luncheon, and one of our retired teachers by the name of Tim Tyler was the recipient of the CIF Distinguished Service Award. And that's because since he's retired 12 years ago, he is the tournament director for a lot of the CIF tournaments for softball and for wrestling. So when you see the people out there organizing all the tournaments, it's Tim Tyler. And so he was recognized today by the CIF organization, which was great. And I have 2 final stories I want to share with you tonight. Many of you remember Olympian senior Miguel Aldrete. About 3 years ago, when we had the welcome back assembly with all of our staff, he and 7 of his friends were on the stage talking about their trip to Costa Rica, where they planted 1,600 trees and brought soccer balls that they're built in a way that if you play with them for 30 minutes, there's a little lever that comes out and it becomes a light at nighttime. And so most recently, or I should say at a very young age, he developed a passion to save the planet from deforestation. And he created his own nonprofit, I think at 10 years old. He called it Kids for Our World. And when he was 10 years old, the way he raised money for that nonprofit, was that he wrote a book. And then he sold the book, and all the money, or most of the money from the book, went to this organization so that they could raise money to plant trees across the world. So since 2011, Kids for Our World has planted over 16,000 trees in 8 different countries. And last weekend, Miguel spoke at the first ever TEDx Chula Vista. So he was one of the speakers for TEDx Chula Vista. And he was amazing. And here's how he started his speech that day, his 10-minute speech. He said, "I am addicted." He said, "I am addicted to serving others." And that's what how he started it. So he's a determined and productive global citizen. We already know that. He's decided to attend San Diego State University with a business major, entrepreneur. It was Miguel who shared the African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we've been using that for the past 3 years. So we want to congratulate Miguel and thank him for making a difference in our world. So that's one story. The last story, and perhaps you remember last board meeting, I mentioned Sioux High senior Stephanie Lopez, whose name was chosen to receive a brand new Ford Mustang and a Ford Foundation scholarship to attend San Diego State University. So that was a great story, right? You might have seen her on the KUSI News. Well, the part of the story I didn't share because of privacy reasons, and now I can because it's out in the public, was that Stephanie has been a youth in foster care since the age of 12. And so winning the car just seemed like a great story for someone who's worked so hard to stay focused on her schooling. Stephanie turned 18 in December and therefore aged out of the foster care system. And since March, Stephanie was eligible for government assistance because she's living on her own now and going to school every single day through an independent living program. But she's been living in the studio apartment. However, because she won this car and the scholarship, it disqualified her, and she had to move out last weekend. Now that's a sad story, right? It could be, oh my gosh, how could that happen? Sounds horrible. It does. But that did not stop her nor the Sweetwater community from taking action immediately. So here's what happened. A GoFundMe account was created with the help of two of her teachers, Claudia Tejas and Maureen Reimer. In a short 24 hours, enough funds were raised to help Stephanie get through the summer to reach until her scholarships kick in for San Diego State University. This demonstration of support is about putting the we back in Sweetwater, and it's about truly being a Sweetwater family. And I just getting all kind of emotional thinking about it. So, as we finish this year, on behalf of our governance team, we thank each teacher, each counselor, each support staff, and each administrator for your daily efforts with your students and families, for loving what you do and doing what you love. And we appreciate each district and office staff member who supports your work at the sites. We are so grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Janney. Amazing, amazing, amazing. That's all we can say, and thank you. And now, we'll have a report from our student board representative, Isaiah Irizarry.
Thank you. And first, I just want to say it's amazing to hear what the community has done for that person who unfortunately got her scholarship disqualified. But it's great to hear that, that the community is all pitching in to help do something great. And it shows the perseverance of the human spirit and how in, dark times and dark places in all of our lives, we can all pitch in together and really form something great. So I got a new sticker on my laptop, and it says, I love voting. Unfortunately, I'm not old enough to vote, but I am old enough to pre-register to vote. So when in the state of California, if you are 16, you can pre-register to vote, which means, and also 18-year-olds can also register to vote and vote, which means, especially considering the significance of this year being midterms where we elect congressmen and we're electing a new governor, me and several other students in the Bonita Vista campus have been going around trying to register people to vote. So we go to the registrar, we get a bunch of, forms that have, people's like, put your name, your address, your social security numbers, that way we can get you on the voter rolls. And we go around and we tell people like, hey, do you want to pre-register, register to vote? We set up booths at lunch to get people to register to vote, and we've gotten a pretty decent turnout so far. So I think these kind of actions are very important within the Sweetwater community. I do know that Bonita's done it in the past, but unfortunately I don't know of other schools or if they've done it in the past. But I do think that the actions of getting people registering to vote, especially in our very tense climate where a lot of people feel helpless or that there's nothing they can do about it, it's important to remind students that their vote is the most important thing they can do and that it's their sovereign duty as American citizens to participate in this democratic process. And, by getting people to pre-register to vote, even if they don't, maybe fully understand the importance of voting, it still allows them to have that option available where, they don't have to go and wait, come around election day when they want to make a decision. They can just, go to the local polling place and actually cast their ballot. So it's a very important vehicle for students to make change and progress within their communities, and that's why we're trying to get people to register and pre-register to vote. And I think that other schools, hopefully next year, when I have more time in second semester, I can start working with other schools to see if they can start, their own thing at lunch where they register and pre-register people to vote. The second thing's a bit more concerning. As you may or may not know, within the National Football League, a lot of football players have done a form of a controversial protest in which they take a knee during the national anthem to protest what they perceive as police brutality or racial injustice and inequality. Now, regardless of where you stand on each side, a lot of people have said that the protests they consider disrespectful, while a lot of people have supported the protests and have said that they're necessary and important. Regardless of where you may stand, I have a serious issue with, and this is a disturbing trend I've seen across in my school, where teachers have started to find ways to discipline students for exercising their constitutional right and taking a knee or not standing during the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, there is a Supreme Court case, I believe is Tinker v. DeMoy, in which they ruled that a student's First Amendment right on campus, as long as it's not directly interfering with instruction in the class, cannot be violated. Which means that I urge the board to send out a memo to teachers telling them that they cannot discipline their students for a simple act of nonconformity or a simple act of protest that just, is simply voicing their beliefs. And I understand that people have differing opinions on this, but at the end of the day, it's enshrined in our Constitution that people have their First Amendment rights to have their voices heard and to have their opinions heard. And it's very, very concerning when teachers want to stifle that opinion by reducing citizenship grades. And I think I once again strongly urge the board on behalf of all students who want to voice their opinions to tell teachers that they cannot discipline their students or punish them in any sort of way for, a simple gesture during the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irizarry. And now we will conduct a public hearing for the public to respond to the initial proposal from the Sweetwater Union High School District to the National Association of Government Employees, NAGE, the exclusive representative of the supervisors, Chapter 12-050 Bargaining Unit, and adopt the initial proposal from the district to the NAGE Bargaining Unit. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
I have no speakers.
The public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion for board agenda item D1?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Solis and a second by Mr. Pike. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes to do so. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters that are not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and report. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding.
Kathleen Shears?
One of my favorite songs is by George Benson, Everything Must Change. I was at a community event recently where the topic of education was raised. Everyone began speaking of the 3 principal changes in our community. When asked for my opinion, I simply said, everything must change. When I left, got in my car, turned on my radio, what was playing? George Benson, Everything Must Change. I saw it as a sign. I would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank Louis Zumstein, Montgomery Middle Principal, Lee Romero, Southwest Principal, and Tom Rodrigo, Montgomery High Principal, for all they did for our community students during the several years they served. Mr. Zumstein is already dearly missed. Just the thought of him being gone has saddened students and parents alike. Lee Romero, a principal who has the largest turnout of parents at meetings. He is cherished by Southwest parents and loved for the fact that he is there for his students. Known for his attending as many games, events, and competitions as is humanly possible. Last but not least is Tom Rodrigo. No doubt, as sad as he is to leave Aztec country, a little voice is saying, but Tom, you won't have Mrs. Cheers to deal with any longer. He will no longer be questioned by me at school site council meetings. Questions he always had the answers for, and answers I would consistently challenge with a follow-up. But why? Mr. Rodrigo can be credited for leading the charge to change the campus. What was once referred to as a ghetto school now is admired. At least I forget the Celtic floor in our new gym. I, a Laker fan, was not in favor of that floor, obviously. Mr. Rodrigo believed all students should feel proud of their campus, that all students, no matter what side of the 805 they live on, should be educated on a campus in classrooms which reflect a positive, healthy, and clean environment offering modern amenities. Yes, we may be losing 3 great principals, but 3 other schools are gaining them. In closing, I would like to recognize and thank those teachers, counselors, support staff, and administrators who are retiring. I know we would not be where we are today without each and every employee. Whether it be a plumber, a bus driver, food service worker, gardener, or custodian, and others I may be failing to mention. Remember, this place not would not, but could not operate without you. Additionally, I look forward to seeing all of you retirees at the future board meetings. Thank you very much. Like that's going to happen.
Thank you.
Else I will disobey God and will receive his punishment. In Corinthians 3:17 it states, if any man defiles the temple of God, he shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. I accept each board member's oath of office. The U.S. Supreme Court in Marbury v. Madison stated, a law repugnant to the Constitution is void. SB 277, which requires mandatory vaccination in order to attend school, violates my God-given and constitutional rights to not vaccinate my daughter. The district has a duty to offer schooling to my daughter Annette and has made me an offer to do so, with one particular contractual condition: vaccinate your daughter or get a medical exemption. I submitted a counter-offer to Superintendent Karen Jenny titled Constructive Notice of Liability and Waiver of Immunity Regarding Mandatory Vaccinations on March 12, 2018. I gave her 2 weeks to reply, and my conditions were allow my daughter Annette to attend school without vaccines or pay me $50,000 for each day she's not allowed to enroll, $100,000 for each day of missed school, $20 million if vaccinated and it results in injury. I did not receive a response of any kind. In fairness, I gave Superintendent Jenny a second opportunity. I sent a notice of fault and opportunity to cure liability regarding mandatory vaccination on April 2nd and gave her another 15 days to reply. No proper response was issued, just a vague letter under color of law from District Legal Counsel Jennifer Carbusha refusing to allow my daughter to enroll without vaccines or a medical exemption, claiming that the district was following SB 277. Legal Counsel Carbusha has willingly joined our school contract and now owes me a joinder's fee of $10 million. After a second opportunity to answer properly with no response, I served Superintendent Janney with a notice of default and imminent liability concerning mandatory vaccination on May 10th. No proper response was issued except other vague letters from Carbusha. On May 15th, Hilltop Middle School refused to allow my daughter to enroll Annette. Therefore, the district has performed on the contract. There is now consideration between the parties. There has been a meeting of the minds, and under our valid commercial contract, the accumulated fees owed to me thus far are $750,000 by Superintendent Janney and $10,750,000 from legal counsel Carbusha. The rest of the board members were issued their own notice of liability and named respondents liabilities on May 12th. Effective date to respond is May 30th, which is tomorrow. If I get no timely response from the board by June 1st, I will file my first true bill and invoice to all board members who will owe me at that time $800,000. To close, in the spirit of Marbury versus Madison, under American Jurisprudence, Book 6, Unconstitutional Official Acts, it reads, the general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, though having the form and name of law, is in reality no law, but is wholly void and ineffective for any purpose. Since an unconstitutional law is void, the general principles follow that it imposes no duties, confers no rights, creates no office, bestows no power of authority to anyone, affords no protection, and justifies no acts performed under it. The district and this board is acting unlawfully and without authority in their attempt to use SB 277 to deny schooling for my daughter Annette, making you personally liable under tort law. Annette, please give him the documents. This is the last opportunity to the board to accept my counter offer. I formally demand that you enroll my daughter Annette in Hilltop Middle School. If not, you will lose all governmental immunity for acting outside of your authority, and you will not be afforded any legal protections for violating our constitutional rights. To be clear, you are not required to comply with the unconstitutional bill known as SB 277. Regardless of the district accepting my daughter in school now, Superintendent Jani and Carbusha are still liable for the applicable fees that I just mentioned, yet I am willing to waive all fees dues if Annette is enrolled within 2 weeks prior to the beginning of classes at Hilltop Middle School. Does anybody have any questions? Isaiah, any questions?
Excuse me, I run the meeting. sir.
I was just asking him in particular.
Well, I
Sorry,
run the
ma'am.
meeting.
Any questions?
You continue. We don't respond to people
No, I know you don't.
speaking in public.
I'm done, ma'am. I'm just asking if you
Are
have any
finished?
questions.
Are
Yes.
you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is Eva or Annette speaking? No? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Nick Marinovich?
No. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Good evening. I guess we're not going to do the chair report.
No, that'll come before.
Oh,
the
okay.
night. Yeah.
Okay, I have just a couple of quick comments. This is a little bit out of the swimming lane as far as the bond program, but not too much. And it really is talking about the history of the district and some of the things that I think the district needs to be mindful of as you move forward. I'm a look-ahead person. I'm kind of assuming maybe some things, but it's my style. So in bond programs, and you'll find out if you do make the decision to go forward this year with a ballot measure, there will be people, firms coming out of the woodwork expressing interest. And this, as you know, in the past has been a major problem with the district. And you have the opportunity, obviously, to set the tone as you move forward with your conduct, your actions, you're just paying attention to board, whatever it may be. This is a really important time. And, you know, I still get the questions from consultants that I met professionally. Oh, it's Sweetwater. I don't know if I want to go down there again. You know, it's, you know, there's the baggage of the past. And I think it's very important that, and I don't have the magic bullet for a solution, that council and the district think about how the board collectively sets the tone that this is a different Sweetwater, and you did it this evening as you move forward. And maybe I'm saying the obvious, but you know, it's very easy in these school bond programs, especially when it's consultant related, what's called non-hard bid type, when it's a qualification-based selection, where it's evaluation committees to have influence. And it's not done the stupid ways like Gondra did, but it could be done very subtly with so-and-so likes this firm, and a word gets to staff. I mean, that's how it happens around the state. I am appalled what goes on in other school districts in these bond programs. It's just unbelievable, and I think it's very important this district stand out as the baggage of the past is gone and you move forward. And I know it's preaching, but I think it's an important thing to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shane Parmalee?
Oh, somebody left a phone. It's been a very long day. So there are 4 times that I've had to deal with district administrators here, principals, vice principals, like my run-ins. The first time, I'm a crier too, so it's okay. The first time my middle schooler was, and they're fine, like it didn't even bother them. It just, the whole concept bothers me. My child was a middle school, Bonita Middle, and the GSA had gotten together for their yearbook photo, and I won't name the other club, but a group of boys in another club decided to make fun of them for their sexual orientation, gender identity. And so I called the school, and my child is very good at self-advocating. Went in, talked with the principal, Eduardo Reyes, was fabulous, wonderful, absolutely fabulous. And that was my first experience really dealing with an administrator here in the district. And then my next 3 times have not been so great. Later that year, I got a phone call on speakerphone and from Fernando Delgado when he was vice principal at Bonita High, and he was calling about my opt-out note. And during that conversation, he started cutting me off, yelling over me, telling me my opt-out note was not appropriate, and was super rude. And I actually laughed. I laughed, and I was like, "I'm hanging up on you and calling the superintendent. You are not allowed to speak to me like this." And he completely traumatized my child, who then was later diagnosed with anxiety, and I eventually pulled them out of Bonita High School because she was avoiding the office and was avoiding school. Which is interesting because now he's at Otay Ranch, I hear, and he actually referenced the conversation he had with me as a way to make fun of parents who opt their children out. The third time, my child was harassed about their gender identity while they were at Bonita High School for the 9th grade, incoming 9th grader. They weren't even a student there yet. They were coming to 9th grade. They were there for 9th grade orientation. And one of the students was harassing them, "Are you a boy or a girl? Are you a boy or a girl?" Well, and then started asking them about their genitalia. And when I contacted the district, it was handled really well. It was handled very well, very satisfactory. Obviously not an interaction you want to have. Last year, we had the Gender Bender Day at Otay Ranch. And there was a lot of work that went into preventing it, and then administration, none of the stuff that had been talked about the night before actually happened, and it was kind of a crap show that day. And there were meetings afterwards, a lot of conversations. I attended a Title IX meeting earlier this year where Anna Pedroza sat there and was unsympathetic to the whole concept of why we would worry about Gender Bender Day until I explained we need to not have, identities are not a costume. It's not okay for somebody to dress up as a Mexican for Cinco de Mayo. It's not okay for blackface. And it is not okay to dress up as someone else's gender identity as a way to make fun of them. Today, when I hear that Gender Bender Day is happening again at Otay Ranch, and that she has sat at a table and agreed to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and I call the school to check in, she says, why are you calling? What are we calling? What are you calling about? The phone call lasted a minute. It lasted a minute. I said, well, and I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Well, I was calling because I hear Gender Bender Day is happening again at the school, and I wanted to, make sure you're doing something about it. So is this being addressed? And she paused and she said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you think that, and I just stopped her. I cut her off. I said, I'm not going to let you reframe this issue. It's a yes or no question. Are you addressing the fact that Gender Bender Day is currently happening at your school, yes or no? And she apparently thinks everybody should talk to her in this really oh, you're so higher than me tone of voice. Because if you are assertive or point out that she is wrong or not logical, you are rude, you are interrupting, and she's not going to be talked to like that, and she's going to hang up on me. And I just said, you have a legal obligation under Seth's law to stop bullying against gay kids on your campus when you see that it's happening. By letting people dress up and ridicule people of different gender identities, you are knowingly doing that, and I'm telling you it's happening and you're refusing to do anything about it. I can personally sue you for that. Seth's law provides for that. Adults on campus who do not step in and intervene when there's bullying happening, especially for gay kids, can be personally sued for that. And that was a newsflash to her in the Title IX meeting. And at that Title IX meeting, there had been a conversation about, training for the district staff, letting the administrators know, letting the school site staff know. But apparently that has not happened yet. So I continued to remind her that she could be personally sued and that I'd be calling the superintendent next. And she kept saying, I'm going to hang up on you. I'm hanging up on you. And she hung up on me. It was a 1-minute conversation. So thank you very much for taking my call this morning. I have nothing but praise for the way you handled my phone call. It sounds like I have to actually talk with my friends who were there all day today. It sounds like it was a lot better than last year and that there is obviously still work to be done, but that at the district level, things were done correctly, and I really appreciate that. That principal, I don't know how that's still allowed. We are 2018. You shouldn't have to be explaining it and arguing it and then, and explaining it more and then still being given an attitude like you're being ridiculous and unreasonable. So thank you, and I am very interested to see what happens as a result of today.
Armand Rodriguez.
My name is Armando Cervantes, and I am a student at Otay Ranch High School, and today I've experienced gender bender. I heard that when I was in middle school that it would be all prevented, that it would be all gone from gender bender, that girls wouldn't act like men or wouldn't dress, or boys wouldn't dress up like girls, all the dresses and makeup. Yet I still experienced it today, and it really hurt me really badly. And in my period too, I was in the locker room, and then boys were walking in. I saw them with all makeup, their hair all done, with wigs, and their dresses, and they were like, "Hey, you did it, yay!" Like it was all some kind of big of a joke. And I talked with my friends about it, and they were saying, like, no, that shouldn't happen, and it shouldn't be this year. I thought it would be, again, I thought it would be actually prevented, that I wouldn't even see this. Just, it's very insulting, and I really don't like it. I talked to one of my friends who's a GLPT, and she was just silent about it. When I asked her about it, she was just silent. She looked really, really hurt, and I just really felt bad about that, because this year from being insulted by, even in middle school, that I was being insulted on being a homosexual, and that even at one point I attempted suicide. At one point I couldn't take it. And just all this criticism that just went by, and I just want this to be done. I don't want to see this anymore. When I even asked one of my friends, I wanted to stop talking to him because he said, "Well, just get over it. Every GLBT, just get over it. Like, it'll all be fine in the end." And I just really never ever want to see that again in my entire life. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Greta Rodriguez.
Take your time.
I'm Greta Rodriguez. You're familiar with me. When I make a mistake in my career, I'm nailed to the wall. I'm held accountable, and I have to face it, and I have to deal with it, and I have to reach out to my students and make amends with them. That's my job, and I've accepted that this year. And trust me, I've had restorative justice circles with my students. I've apologized and I've worked with them. And I need to say that before you think that I have no credibility right now. When I held my son, who had overdosed, and asked me, will God accept me? Because everyone told me that God's not going to accept me, that I'm abnormal. So when you're watching your kid die in your arms and you don't know what's going to happen, I made a promise to myself that if my son lives, that I'm not going to stop until every kid feels safe in the classroom, that they don't have to deal with anyone telling them that they're wrong, that they're not a costume, they're not something to make fun of. And until people get educated, I'm not going to stop. And I'm asking you the same. And I know people told me this year, Gretel, be happy, it was only 10%. We made a progress. If I had one student dress up in black makeup today, that would not have been tolerated. Not even one student can come on campus with any KKK or black face. But yet we saw it as progress because we only had 10% this year. It's unacceptable, and I'm asking the board to try again, that we reach 0, because if I'm gonna be held accountable, we need to educate our parents and hold our kids accountable, because this does damage. I've already seen 3 kids go into suicide watch this year. It's not talked about. We don't address it. It's something that we kind of keep it quiet, and I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you. Let's do better. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
No further speakers.
So now we will have the formation and approval of the consent agenda. Clerk of the board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, the following items have been pulled. F4 by staff, F5 by staff, F8 by Mr. Tarantino, G2 by Mr. Tarantino, G4 by Mr. Pike, K4 by Mr. Tarantino, L3 by staff, M1 by Mr. Pike.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Board Member Pike, a second by Board Member Solis. Would you take the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
So now we have D1 pulled by staff.
We already did D1, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. That was my bad. We'll have F4 pulled by staff. Thank you for your correcting.
Okay, so I'm going to take this one. Last meeting, we talked about the ad hoc committee to create an advocacy plan, and so we're bringing this back to you to establish an ad hoc committee so that we can get started on developing that plan. So that's the purpose of this agenda item.
Do I have any questions from the board? I thought we asked for you to bring a framework around this, recommendations. So are you saying your recommendation is to have people named to this committee to do the framework?
Yes. Yeah, one of the things I said I was going to do was talk to Raquel Madden
Right.
through CSBA. So we had a conversation. We felt like it would be better to form the ad hoc committee first, and at the first meeting begin to talk about what that plan might look like. So she's going to come in and give us some ideas and recommendations because she's been working with her staff, her boss, so to speak. And so she's got some ideas, but rather than us bring that forward, we want to have the ad hoc committee discuss that.
All right, so is there members of the board who would like to be on this committee?
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Mr. Solis? Anyone else? I'll, Mr. Segura? No? Yeah, your plate's for it. Okay, I'll go for it. Thank you. All right. So Mr. Solis and I will be on the ad hoc committee, and you can set up a meeting for us to begin this process. All right?
Will do.
And were you bringing staff onto the committee? Would Raquel be part of this committee?
She won't be part of the committee. She'll just be kind of an advisor.
Like an expert?
Right. Yeah. And Deanne will be on it just as the clerk of the board and to help take notes. So
What about our general counsel?
that's up to you.
Okay, I guess we can talk about that. All right.
And just to check, we don't have to vote.
Yes, I would ask you to entertain a motion to
So we
establish
have-
the committee and appoint the
okay.
members.
All right, so we'll take a motion to establish the committee with 2 board members on the committee, Mr. Solis and myself, Paula Hall.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Solis, second by Pike. Call for the vote, please.
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. So now we're on to F5.
I'll take that one too.
We're going to elect 2 members of the Board of Trustees to serve on the Policy Subcommittee for the remainder of the year or abolish the subcommittee.
Correct.
Thank you. Go ahead.
That's it. I was just going to say that.
I thought you were going to talk about the pros and cons. Okay. Is there anyone with a strong feeling to keep this policy going? Mr. Segura? Mr. Solis? Mr. Tarantino? No. I'll just say that I think that staff has the ability to set up the framework about policy review and to make sure that they bring that framework in discussion to the board, you know, to inform us of how you're going to proceed. Or you can inform us right now because you probably already got it in place, and then let us know how you're working with that. Would you like to tell us that, Dr. Janet? I mean, because when we abolish it, there is another, how are you going to handle this?
So there are several ways that new or revised policies approach the board or approach the cabinet. Once or twice a year. Do you get information from CSBA?
Quarterly.
Okay, quarterly. So your board of the clerk, your clerk of the board gets quarterly information from CSBA about any new or revised policies. So we've put a system in place now that when she sends that information to each of the cabinet members, I get a copy, and then it'll be part of the cabinet agenda. And so we talk about which ones need to come first, prioritize, and things like that. It's actually on our agenda for tomorrow. So that's the process now that we've put in place, and we hope that will keep us better on track.
So, is there any questions, Mr. Solis?
No, I was just going to move to abolish this subcommittee.
No.
But if there's questions, I'll wait.
Well, I have a question. Okay, so how do you do, I mean, you're talking about new or revised, so who's going through it to make sure we have up to date? I mean, all the policies currently are up to date, and so we're not just waiting on CSBA to tell us what to do.
CSBA only submits or sends to Deanne new updated policies. Our staff themselves, each of the cabinet members look through their set of policies, and sometimes it's kind of a natural, organic kind of thing. It comes up from underneath, and sometimes it comes from a board recommendation. It's a kind of a variety of ways that it gets approached. But there's absolutely, the last time we did this where we went through every single board policy was in 2008. I think Dr. Carberry remembers that. We went through every single, it took us months. Do you remember exactly how long that took? Deanne? It took a really long time. And that
It was
because-
about a 6-month process.
Yeah. And so we've been updating them as we go. And again, as things are brought forward to us or our staff finds it, like in graduation requirements or curriculum or things like that, things naturally come up where we update things, update policy.
Do we have the software that CSBA has for the policies? Is that something that
Yes, we
have
use the
access-
Gamut online system.
So you have the Gamut, and everybody has access to that, that's at the cabinet level?
Everybody that has requests, I can get access for them. People that typically look up policies, updates, have a login for Gamut.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, could we have a list of that? Who has access to Gamut? Could you provide that to the board?
Sure.
Thanks. All right, so that's it. I have a motion to abolish the subcommittee.
I'll second.
And I have a second. Would call for the vote?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura? Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're on to item F8. Approve and implement the plan for corrective action with the Office of Civil Rights, and that is pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, President Hall, and Mr. Segura for the coffee. Thank you.
You want black?
Black, yes. I was just going to say that I think a lot of the recommendations from the Office of Civil Rights will not only help those that are visually impaired, but also able-bodied individuals as well. For me, I have to say the website is kind of hard to navigate. You have to know what you're looking for and where to look for it. But I think that some of the recommendations that are being made in this document, I think will help all of us in terms of finding information a little more easily and quickly. Another thing, I had no idea about colors, and so what the recommendations in terms of colors of the website and the flashing, I don't know, slideshow that, I mean, I had no idea that for some individuals those are kind of hard to look at or hard to follow. So it was an eye-opening document for me, and I want to thank Ms. Carbuccia for bringing us into compliance, and also Mr. Rubio for because it's his group that's going to have to kind of see that the suggestions are implemented. So thank you both.
And Dr. Moore, right? Wasn't he involved? I thought that letter was from him.
He just has to write all the reports.
Okie dokie. Thank you all for your collaborative effort to make it better and more accessible. So does that mean we can't have color and flashing banners on our website anymore?
So it means we need to significantly limit them, yes.
Is there a way to have an option for a person that has visual issues to click on so that they can view it differently? Is that possible?
Hey, Manny.
Maybe what we need is a consultant to design a website that's all the way around better.
Good evening, Ms. Hall, Vice President Pike, Trustees, Dr. Janney. It depends. There are definitely colors, and there are definitely things on there that what we're working towards is there's software that are screen readers. So somebody who's visually impaired, for example, could click on something, they could move their mouse or whatever their device is over a certain area of the website, and they would hear audibly what it is that they're seeing. There's certain ways of coding our website that can explain certain colors, that can explain certain drop-down menus. So you may not have noticed it because we've really been making the changes subtly so that we're not creating, just a drastic change to our site. But you'll notice there are some subtle differences in how we do drop-down menus. You'll no longer see a flashing, scrolling poster on the front page. And again, part of that is because when a screen reader, all it says is image changing, image changing, image changing. There's no description on that. There are ways to tag and code images and things like that, but that's further down the road for us. We want to make sure that we're at least just at the very basics of what's required. You see there the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, that's kind of the industry standard. And we're finding our way through this. As we've talked about, we're one of the districts who's we think kind of going along this. A lot of districts in California and across the country have been working towards this as well. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else have any technical questions? I'm happy to answer before.
The thing is that
Getting
a
on
web.
my way.
Oh, Mr. Segura, do you have a question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I just know that sorry. Okay. The website is where a lot of people go to see who we are, and so if we're making it plainer, it seems like it wouldn't be as attractive to some or as easily to navigate. So that's why I would hope that eventually you can have both models somehow.
Yeah, and there definitely is.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a planar, it's just making sure that certain colors are primary colors are better. And a lot of times in trying to make something look pretty, sometimes we go into shades of colors or fancy fonts or things like that, and those for screen readers and for folks who are visually impaired, those just don't work. And so it's not really about we definitely want to make sure we're in compliance, and then making sure we're also keeping some element of obviously of just aesthetically pleasing kind of a website.
Well, Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that we're giving access to everybody and not just a few that can see. So, Mr. Pike, did you have a question? No? Okay. Nobody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve.
F8.
Is it F8? F8. Call for the vote, please.
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
So now we have G2, which is approve and ratify additional funding for the memorandum of understanding with South Bay Community Services and the YMCA of San Diego County and the Sweetwater Union High School District for the after-school education and safety and the after-school safety and enrichments for teens programs for the 2017-18 year. And that was pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Yes. I just had one question. What was the rationale for the increases?
Good evening. The numbers for the original allocation were based on our 16-17 enrollment numbers. And so when we received the update last year, we were set for a particular allocation. In December of this year, the CDE changed the allocation per pupil per attendance, and that increase is what is reflected now. So it's just a change in the funding formula.
Okay. It doesn't reflect increases in services. Just the fact that they tweaked this.
They tweaked the funding formula.
So we're not getting more for the extra money.
No, it's the allocation based on the number of students and the per pupil allocation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any further questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve item G2.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Pike, second by Segura. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
G4, which is approve and ratify the term of an existing memorandum of understanding between the Sweetwater Union High School District and Stephen Hawking Math and Science Charter School, a nonprofit operation representing both Hawking 1 and Hawking 2 charter schools. Mr. Pike, you pulled this item?
Yeah. The reason that I pulled it is because we're always kind of angry and irritated sometimes at the charter schools because we feel like they're costing us a lot of money. And in this fiscal impact, it says that the district's receiving 3% of the revenues, but we don't know what the revenues are and we don't know what the 3% is. So maybe it would be beneficial if the people knew how much money the 3% was, so that, you know, they wouldn't always be thinking that we're only just paying them, that they're actually paying us back and we're actually getting some money. That's just one of my thoughts.
So Dr. Carby has that information, right? Yeah.
So what you're asking for is a clear accountability of the program cost?
Just how much we get, what is our 3%?
Well, I think
So it ranges about $100,000, a little over that, for each of the schools for the 16-17 year, and that's for the Hawking schools, and just the Hawking schools. Back we only charge 1%. I'm not sure why, but so for them it was about $15,000. But specific to this particular item, for this year we don't do a final billing until the end of the school year based upon what their revenues are, and so we're anticipating about $132,000 from Hawking 1 and about $109,000 from Hawking 2.
Okay. Maybe just next to the 3%, you could put that there so that people know how much money we're actually getting.
Right.
Thank you.
And this is a result of the fact that we do provide them with facility space, right? So.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, thanks. That's all I had.
You're welcome.
so. I have a follow-up on that, a request. not only do we have an idea of what we're getting in revenue, but what are our expenses related to that income. And if you could provide a schedule for that, working with Mrs. Michael, I would appreciate that, going out to the board as a regular practice. Thank you. Of item G4, I have a question also about this. It says we're extending the term
So
on this contract?
our last actual signed MOU, which with the Hawkins School is signed previously every year. So back into the 13-14 and 15-16 school year, we actually have signed MOUs. But for the 16-17 and this year, we don't have a signed MOU. So this allows us to have a signed one, so we actually can send them a bill for the charges for the end of this year. And then moving forward, we are working with our legal counsel to provide a 5-year MOU. So from the 2018-19 school year through the year of the actual agreement to the charter, which is 2022, to have that in place. And then as we look through some of the other charter documents, what we have set up with the MAC is what we're looking forward to do with them is that each year then in May, we'll send them a cost sheet for the cost of what it will cost them to provide services to them for the things they contract with us for. And then by June 1st, they will have to notify which services they're taking advantage of. And so it'll only be that part that will actually be done each year, will be the service contract.
So if they're doing that by June 1st, that really doesn't give us much time to build it into our budget, right? Does it? Is that going to give us enough time? That's a Karen question that I'd like to have an answer for. And the other part is, are you talking about services above? Because isn't the percentage based on what we provide an indirect cost? It's like an indirect cost that we're charging them for basic support.
Okay, we're going to tag team this, and then we'll phone a friend if we have to across the room. So generally you're allowed to charge the 1% or the 3% depending, plus this MOU is for additional services that we provide to them. So for example, for MAC, we actually do their hiring processes. So we run their HR processes. We charge them a fee for that. They utilize food services, Infinite Campus. We charge them for that. So this MOU is for those services that we provide, which is what that schedule is. So generally, they let us know way in advance if they're not going to utilize a service. So for example, Hawkins is no longer going to use special ed services starting next year. They're going to go to the El Dorado SELPA. And so they've been providing, so that was one piece that we will no longer provide them services for that would have been included in that MOU that now wouldn't be. So annually, that's what Dr. Carberry is talking about the list, that we will provide them kind of their checklist of services, and they'll say, yeah, no, we don't want this one. But all of us, but Dr. Carberry and their annual visits that I know a number of folks are on, are talking with the charter regularly about what services we're going to continue to provide to them or not, and having those discussions. So it isn't a one-time check-in in May.
I would, and I apologize for not giving you all these questions earlier, but I would wonder, we're still liable if there is a gap, or if they're found to have failed in providing special ed services, that they contract with the SELPA outside of this county. We're the ones liable for that, aren't we, being that we are the authorizing district?
So, as to our liability, I would prefer to have that conversation not in an open meeting.
Okay.
However, generally speaking, while we can still be sued for any of those services from an Office of Civil Rights perspective, things do fall back on us. The provider of those services does fall to the actual charter school. So there are a couple of steps in between that we could talk about if we thought that liability was an issue.
All right.
But
sorry, I
No,
crossed the line there.
never. That wasn't
But,
crossing.
I mean, it's one of those things that you have to be prepared for, and as I read it, this was something that, it sounded like we're giving them carte, you know, like we're setting this up for 5 years, and we weren't gonna be really revisiting it for 5 years, so I felt that might be an issue. Is that,
So this one is just to finish out, these are two to just finish out this school year.
maybe it was a summary I read that in, I don't know.
Next board meeting, we're coming forward with another MOU for the time frame from the 19th through 2022.
I'm going to tag team one more. There's a really important provision in the first paragraph of the contract amendment that's approved. If you look into it, it talks about the fact that the parties mutually agree that they will come back and negotiate in good faith the 5-year agreement that Dr. Carberry is talking about. It says it subtly, but it's there and necessary because sometimes charters don't want to come back on and have those bases. Right now, there's a material revision pending, and so because of that, they kind of have to. But we did actually document that in the addendum as well to make sure that that concern that you had would be addressed.
I guess it's that sentence that you have in the summary that says the agreement is intended to extend the term without having to do annual updates. So that was where okay.
We missed the annual updates.
It sounds like they're not gonna
It
do
is
that.
intended to be coterminous so that, for example, if the parties were not to come back to the table, the contract doesn't just end and there's no obligations there. So we need to have that ongoing, but in the actual, if you go to the top paragraph, it talks about, 1.4, last line, the parties agree that they will memorialize changes no later than June 30th. So I mean, we actually do anticipate that, and that, as Dr. Carberry says, is already slated and is in the upload process in the next couple of days for you to have that as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, if nobody else has questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve item G4.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Pike, second by Solis. Call for the vote, please.
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, now we're on item K4. Mr. K4 is approved deposit and reimbursement agreement.
Madam President, I pulled that
formation
item.
of a CFD. So,
And I
Mr.
pulled
Tarantino.
it by mistake. So if there are no other questions, I'll move approval of
Okay.
K4.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Tarantino, a second by Mr. Pike to approve item G4. Would you
K4.
Or K4, would you please call for the vote?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
So we have item L3, which is pulled by staff.
This item is pulled simply because the declaration of need requires it to not be approved under the consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay,
So you need a motion?
Correct.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I would ask Mrs. Dr. Janney, could you explain a little bit about this item, please?
I'm going to let Dr. Glover answer that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, President Hall, Dr. Janney, board members. The declaration of need is from time to time as we go through the year hiring teachers. There are times that we might not find somebody completely credentialed, so this allows us an opportunity to hire interns, or perhaps there's a math teacher who really would be interested in teaching physics. It's an opportunity for us to add to that credentialing while they obtain a full credential. And so we put in for this every year.
Okay, thank you very much for having that explanation for us. And I believe I have a motion by Mr. Pike and a second by Mr. Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
So I have item M1, which is the capital improvements, but before we get to that, I'd like to call Mr. Marinovich up to the microphone to give us the report from the Bond Oversight Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a very positive bond oversight meeting. The Bonita High School, we had a site tour. The Hilltop High School was pretty well kept, really in pretty good shape for a school as old as that school is, almost as old as some of you board members. No, just kidding. And the infamous athletic project is well underway. The second thing, we did not have a quorum. We had a death in the family and graduations. It's one of those meetings. This was probably one of the most sedate bond oversight meetings we've had, which is so good. The committee members there were pleased with the way the selection process is being handled under the bond oversight. 3 positions that are open. Erica Balakian has decided not to reapply for her position because she has a big-time responsible job now at the Lemon Grove School District. There's still an interest in having a joint meeting between us two bodies. Hopefully, the thinking would be sometime after, if you do a second survey or when you have a second survey poll, that we'd have a meeting prior to making a decision, yes or no, on the November election. And it's just, again, another reminder in that survey was the accountability aspect of voters, perception of borrowing new money is going to be a lot of their weighing in their minds. The master plan meetings we've heard, most of them are pretty sparsely attended. One was pretty large at Bonita High School, which wasn't there. Hurley was large. It was focused on some of the existing problems with the school, which Dr. Aguirre certainly is aware of, and your board is aware of. Here's kind of a new one. It's kind of coming within the last 6 months. There seemed to be heightened interest in the quality of middle school athletic facilities. There's a project for National City Middle School that's underway with a field restoration. So I think it's just kind of throw it out there that's going to, as you move forward with spending in the future, this whole idea of parity, equity, and what is anticipated for middle school physical education facilities would be something for the board to consider. Another item that's sort of on the radar that maybe you haven't heard of is the Department of the DSA for the state of California, which, believe me, they can be quite a frustrating organization from the other end if you're the frustratee. That's really honing in on ADA compliance requirements and really being sticklers, which usually means that they're threatened or they're worried about litigation if they sign off on something and then somebody comes back and says it wasn't ADA compliant, would be my guess. So the importance there, the most important thing probably in this whole report in terms of saving the district money, is making sure early on in the design process you covered all the bases on what you think would be the ADA requirements, because you have to go back and make the changes just like in your home remodel. It always end up costing you much more than if you made up your mind in the first place. I know this will come as a huge shock. The PLA is still on our radar. In closing, I think the bond committee had a positive feeling, makeup. We're hopeful that we get new members that are gone under a good objective selection process. And the final thing, as we move forward, and this is sort of, I thank you for taking me and listening. This job, or I guess it's a job, being bond chair, is not the easiest thing sometimes, especially depending on your personality makeup. And by its nature, bond oversight has an element of where you're going to not agree with each other, be in contention, but possibly. And that's part of our job. It's like when you go in an IRS audit, you don't expect them to be amenable to you. It's just it's the nature of the beast. But I think we all, in closing, none of the bond oversight committee members have any real, there's no people are running for office or thinking about running for office or anything other than want the best interests of the students, and not that the sins of the past emerge again. And that, unfortunately, you as a board has to deal with that. And I, as chair, can help you because of my past professional experience when architects see, hey, what's Sweetwater like? Because I know, I'm on the committee. Hey, it's different now. It's not the way it used to be. But you know, that takes a lot of convincing. There's a lot of cynicism, I believe, still out there that it's going to take some work. But we're up to the task. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we have item M1, pulled by Mr. Pike.
Yeah, and the only reason I pulled it, I just wanted your staff and you to know, Doctor, how impressive it is that you guys are working on all the schools. So it's not just on the east side or the west side. Everybody's getting a little thing done to their school, no matter how. But it just shows that you're all working together, and it's for the whole district, not just for certain schools all the time. So I just wanted to mention that, because when I was looking through there, I was like, they're doing stuff in every school, which is what we want. So thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve item M1? Oh, wait.
Second.
Did you have a question? Okay, and a second? Oh, I have a motion by Mr. Solis, a second by a motion by Mr. Segura, a second by Mr. Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And that is it. Now we can have our board communication. I'll go with, let's see, who's first? Mr. Solis, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Hall. I just wanted to say I had the opportunity to go to the Suhai Foundation Awards ceremony, where they gave scholarships. Part of it, they gave scholarships to the kids at Suhai, and it was a wonderful event. And also, my wife and I had an opportunity to speak to Ms. Stephanie Lopez. She's amazing young lady, and she's very resilient, and I want to thank the community for stepping up. She deserves it, and she's going to do great, and she's going to come back and make some changes, because we definitely need to look at some of those laws with regards to foster kids, and I know Lorena Gonzalez, she's on it. I know she's working on that to see what can be done, because it's not fair. She deserved that car, and it shouldn't prevent her from getting the assistance that she needs and she deserves. So hopefully something good comes out of it. I'm sure it will. Especially she's so resilient. It's amazing. She impressed us, and I know she's going to go far. So, but thank you to the community for stepping up. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Tarantino?
Yes, I like you said last meeting, Mrs. Hall, this is a busy time of year, so we've got a lot of things that are going on, a lot of them simultaneously. This morning I had the opportunity to attend the Cox Scholars Breakfast, and there were 6 of our students who won scholarships from Cox. And unfortunately, they didn't have a program, so I don't know how much the scholarships were for. They didn't announce it, but here are the winners. Alejandro Perez from Eastlake High School, who will be going to MIT. Frankie Metcalf from Eastlake High School, who will be going to Southwestern College. Reagan Thomas from Eastlake High School, who will be going to Xavier University. Jet Rashakashak from San Ysidro High School, who will be going to UCLA. Mauricio, and he wasn't here, and I didn't get his last name, but it sounded like Guillermo's, but I know that that's 2 first names, so I don't know. Anyway, he's from Southwest High School, and I don't know where he's going to college because he wasn't there. And then Caitlin Tanguanguyo from Otay Ranch High School, who is going to UCLA. And again, this scholarship is based on not only scholastic achievement, but their extracurricular activities, leadership, and perseverance. There were 1,500 applicants and 38 recipients. So these young individuals, they really deserved what they got. I'd like to thank Tony Salinas, teacher at Olympian High School, for organizing the 10th annual Common Senior Experience Showcase. This is part of the cultural tradition of Olympian High School. I want to thank all of the teachers and administration for continuing this tradition. It's the capstone project that demonstrates students' college readiness. The book that they read this year was Farm Sanctuary from Gene Bauer, which dealt with the inhumane treatment of animals that are resulting in factory farming. And part of the tradition is that they fundraise, and the senior class of 2018 raised $7,473 for a farm sanctuary in Southern California. Thanks to Hank Austin, Saul Cruz, the Chula Vista adult counselors, for their role in orchestrating the Chula Vista Adult Awards Assembly. I'd like to thank Dr. Aghetti and his team, Janaea Quirk, Roxana Travers, Armando Murillo, and Colleen Keenan for their role in the master plan meetings. I was able to attend the last two that dealt in Area 3, Otay Ranch and Rancho Del Rey, East Lake High and East Lake Middle. Interesting that really not a lot of new things surfaced. It was all the things that I think we've all heard about, either in public comment or that is being brought by Dr. Aghetti and his staff. And again, it revolves around safety. A lot of it revolves around safety, and I think that's a direct result of what's been happening in our public schools throughout the nation. And thanks to Katrine Chakowski for the induction semester 2 roundtable for year 1 and 2 teachers. I have to tell you, listening to these teachers, we have a lot of good candidates that are on board, and I mean, their passion for teaching is unquestionable, and I can tell you that they are teachers who are in it for a career and not just a job. They're not gonna bolt after 5 years. That came across loud and clear. So I want to thank her and Dr. Carberry as well for helping out with that. And last of all, thanks to Mary Alvarado for her work in planning and coordinating the Workforce of the Future Expo at Chula Vista Adult. And that was a showcase of employers around San Diego County. It was great. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Segura.
Thank you, President Hall. So, man, as busy as Mr. Tarantino is, I want to thank you for making all those functions. I've been trying to.
Will you pass that along to my wife?
Yes, I will. I have my wife call your wife. How's
Yeah,
that?
really, that sounds good.
But I really appreciate that. That all the time that the board members make. I unfortunately haven't been able to attend too many, but I appreciate that. I really do. I also appreciate, as we want getting I really appreciate Dr. Janney's heartfelt speech, or it wasn't even a speech. It was from the heart. Your words there, and I sit on our apprenticeship board of directors. Where we have 500 apprentices, and these are young men and women who have jobs and they have careers and they have things that happen. Life happens to them as they're going through the program, and I think because if they get in trouble or they need some help, they come to the board and we talk to them. And we had a few today, and I was reflecting on. That's every day for the team here, at the schools, the principals, the teachers, the counselors, the people working in the cafeteria. Everybody's, trying to support these students that as they, and they're not, they're young adults, but they're not adults where they're outside of their house. So I really appreciate all the work that everybody does in supporting their kids. And I don't know, not every child, is the model child that just can go from, all the way through without any issues. I have one of those sons. My son, he just needs a little extra work, and I'm learning how that all happens. But I really appreciate the work that everybody does to support all the kids, and it's a big task. That's for sure. I was able to attend the Dr. Janney and a few other people were there at the Southwestern College. Dr. Murillo gave her president's speech, and that was really good, and it really kind of paralleled what we're doing here at the district, and putting the students first. Quite honestly, is pretty much what's there, what she was saying, and it was a really good presentation, and I really enjoyed it, and just totally just seeing how that campus has changed over the last few years is very impressive. Structures that are on site now. I was able to make it back to our training center, and we had Olympian high school students there, and that was really cool. And seeing them not only getting toured the site, they actually had some hands-on activities for them, which I think is really huge for the students. And I was glad my staff was able, or the team of the training center was able to help to make that happen. And can I use this as an F3? Because I missed F3.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to, what if we have board policy in regards to what happened at Otay High School today with the students there, and I don't know if what the policy says and what we can and cannot do, and I'd actually like to have maybe a report on what happened there today. I don't know, maybe it's in my inbox already. I haven't had a chance to look, but I would appreciate that. And I would imagine the district already had taken was proactive in trying to work through that. And I will not be at the next board meeting. I will be in Sequoia National Forest, where there is no cell phone or internet service. So
You can watch us.
no, you can't. It's impossible. Well, yes, it's impossible. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
I can tell you where you need to go. You go up to Lee Vining, and you go up this little hill behind Lee Vining, and you can get cell phones.
No, I will not even have a phone. Thank you.
Sure. Who did I miss? Mr. Pike?
Yes, you did.
I thought
That's
so.
okay.
I thought so. I was saving the best for last.
Is that what it is? Okay, good.
I just want to say that we all attended the spring sports banquet that was put on by Joe Hines and his staff, and they always do a very good job. A lot of kids got awards, and it's really nice to see them, even though they pretend like they really don't care. They care. It's nice to see them get their little awards and stuff, and so I was very happy to see that they had a good attendance this time, a little bit better than the last, and hopefully more and more people will show up at these things, because I know it's hard to pick a date because there's so much happening at the end of the year, so it's difficult. And then also I wanted to thank Wes Braddock and his staff. Mr. Tarantino and I went to the awards banquet for the Chulest Adult, and it's really kind of nice to see those people who work 2 and 3 jobs. Sometimes they bring their kids, and they're there, just to try to get ahead, to try to learn English, to try to do, it's really impressive when you see those people from all walks of life, all ages, it doesn't matter. They're there with one purpose, and that's to get ahead, and it's really rewarding. And so therefore I'm looking forward to going to this Thursday I'm going to Kevin McClendon's at Montgomery to see their adult award ceremony, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's all I have.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Pike. And I just want to say we've had a lot of events, and I am thankful that Mr. Tarantino and Mr. Pike are able to get to many of the daytime events that most of us can't, although there are times when we take off. I know Mr. Segura is just about everywhere. I see his Twitter sometimes where he's at, or pictures of him posted by principals or teachers at schools where he's helped them out with things. So I'm pretty impressed by the fellow board members here, and especially Dr. Janney, who is absolutely everywhere. She must be cloned 10 times over because she's everywhere all the time, and it's amazing. Since our last board meeting, we did have an audit finance subcommittee meeting, and I'll be reporting back on that probably at our next meeting, bringing back a little bit of the highlights of what we discussed. But it was a good meeting, and we have a lot of positive things to talk about from that. And We had a parent recognition that same day, which I'm sure that somebody went to. One of you guys went to the parent recognition, Mr. Pike. And then aspiring administrators were honored, and they basically graduated from their program, and that was pretty cool to see. The mentors are just as excited about their graduation as the people who are graduating from our program. And I just want to say thank you to my fellow board members and Dr. Janney and the leadership, because I really believe that we've put our money where the mouth is. You know, our money where our mouth is when we talk about, you know, wanting to bring people forward and developing people. We have a great beginning teacher support program. We have a great aspiring administrators trying to mentor and develop people and give them the successful futures that they are aspiring to. So that was a really nice event. And then I also went to I went to the Southwest College graduation on Friday, and I'll tell you, they had the largest class. It was a record graduating class for Southwest College. I think they had over 900 students graduate. I can't tell you how many. I could probably tell you how many didn't graduate with honors, or that were locked into going to a four-year university as a transfer student, because it seemed like every name read had that designation behind it. It was amazing. They're doing really good things to equip students for bright futures. I also went to our I want to thank Dr. Fulcher, John Chakowski, Dr. Janney, Stacy Musso, and Miriam Dugan for presenting at the safety forum for the South area schools. They did that last week at Mar Vista High, but it was for all the area of Otay, Mesa, and Imperial Beach and Nestor, those schools. So we had a turnout that was really meant to be there, because the conversation really went deep. We had the principals from Mar Vista High, Rich Carrion, Lee Romero from Southwest High, Bill Walsh from Southwest Middle, and AP's Ulysses Hernandez from Mar Vista Academy, and Jose Vargas from Montgomery Middle were in attendance. Parents were really asking good questions and bring forward some really good ideas that I know Dr. Fulcher and his team will be looking into developing. One of them was about informing parents a little bit, about when the trainings are happening, when you're doing drills for the emergency situations, but also some training for the parents and materials to help them support the kids and the teachers and staff of our schools. So that was a good suggestion, and I'm sure they're looking forward to. I also wanted to say how much I do appreciate what we're doing in this district, what Dr. Janney and her leaders are doing, and school teachers at every school, some more than others, are doing around accepting and welcoming every student. Each student is valued and welcomed, and is appreciated for who they are. I can see from the discussion tonight in open comment, we still have work to do, but we have come a long way, because I don't think I know this conversation wasn't being held before we came to this board. So I really think that the focus on students' well-being is one of our major accomplishments so far, that we've put that focus there, and that this team is delivering on that priority. So I just wanted to say that, and I know that we're going to hear good things, but I also echo Mr. Segura's request to have a report out on that item, so that we understand what's going on and the solutions going forward. So as we look forward to our high school graduations, and a team that is in dire need of rest, I'm sure, I want to thank everyone for their work and for their dedication and I look forward to seeing you again, but not Mr. Segura. So thank you very much. Well, I mean, not for a couple of times. So anyway, with that, the meeting is adjourned. Huh? All right. Because it's called Trustees.